let your money work for you, don't work for money. You know, that's a statement that I've heard a lot of financial people that try to give you advice on how to be wealthy, how to have financial freedom, and how to just advance your wealth in life. Is don't work for money, let your money work for you. And that sounds like a smart statement, but at the end of the day, it really doesn't give you the recipe how to get money, get enough money to make it work for you. You know, and then I sit back and I'm thinking, as I was about to make this video, I'm like, why is it that most of everybody is broke? Now, you do have people that has money. You know, it's different levels of having money. You got people that are comfortable. You got people that's wealthy. You got people that's doing good, wealthy, and you got people that's rich. You know, and then you got people that's broke, but you have a lot more people that's broke. So I'm sitting back thinking to myself, just overlooking the whole situation, and I'm like, what does people that stay broke have in common? You know, I don't know. I'm not going to sit there and tell you I know as if I'm some type of financial guru, because I'm broke. You know what I mean? So it's like, what do I have in common with people that just cannot obtain wealth? You know, and I mean, I know the one recipe to obtaining wealth is to generate a lot of money. I mean, you have to have an idea. You have to have some type of concept. You have to have some type of something to generate enough money in order for you to put it up to where you can get to a point where you're wealthy. So we already know the one trick to becoming wealthy is to generate enough money that you can save up so that you can become wealthy. So that's the first hurdle you're going to have to get over, is to figure out, okay, how am I going to generate enough money? But then at the same time, it's a lot of people that's broke that work. So we can't say, oh, when we use the term broke, we can't say, oh, this is somebody that don't want to get up and go to work. This is somebody that just doesn't have the motivation to get up every day and at least put in 8 hours at a shift. So, you know, wherever they work at, it don't matter if it's Walmart or it's corporate America, you got people that's broke on both sides. So at the end of the day, I'm sitting back looking and I'm thinking, okay, the only way I can see that a person can obtain wealth, whether they're generating enough money with their own business to become wealthy or they just working a 9 to 5, is you got to have some form of discipline. I think that's what separates wealthy people from people that's broke, is the discipline. You know, and I look at myself sometimes when I get financial income coming in from working, is that, you know, I could say I don't have discipline, and then that would say, okay, you gamble, you overdrink, you on drugs or something like that. But it's not really saying you lack discipline in that area. It's saying more like you lack discipline of telling yourself no. You know, we raise our kids and we discipline them because guess what? We want them to grow up and have some form of discipline in their life. So what we do when our kids are little, no, don't touch that, watch out. You know, we do a lot of little stuff really to keep them safe, for one, because they don't know if it's something gonna hurt themselves or not. But two, we creating discipline because we want them to understand how to follow instructions, and we want them to understand what they can and can't do. But what happens is, even, you know, adults now, we were raised with that same discipline, but as we get older, we start to lose that lack of discipline. And it's frustrating when you don't have financial freedom, because guess what? It's a lot of things in life that you want to enjoy. It's a lot of places you want to go. You might want a better car. You might want to live in a better area. You might want to own a home. You know, you just want that financial freedom to be able to travel and just live life, you know, like people you see with financial freedom living it. But the one thing that I have a problem with, and people that's, you know, financially broke like I am, you know, have a problem with, is the discipline. You have to be disciplined. If you look at people that's wealthy, we can say the first thing they have in common is money. You know, then we can say the next thing they have in common is the discipline. And then the third thing we can say they have in common is they're able to generate enough money that made them wealthy. So we have to take a step back and we got to look at that situation and go, okay, how can, if I can't do everything you're doing, how can I do some of what you're doing and sort of put myself on the right road to get to where you at? So, you know, tomorrow we're not going to be able to wake up and just say, you know what, I'm fit to generate enough money so that I can have financial freedom. That's impossible. You know, you have to create an idea, you have to create a business, you have to create something that's going to generate the money. But the one thing we can do is we can get up tomorrow and say, I'm going to start being disciplined. That's the one thing we can take from them. Because the three things we know people that's wealthy have in common is they're disciplined, they have money, and they generate enough money to be wealthy. You know, so we don't have the money. We don't have the idea to generate enough money to be wealthy. But what we can do is take something out of that and say, you know what, I can start being disciplined. You know, I do generate a little bit of money. Now, if I start being disciplined, I will start to be able to save some of that money. And then I will be able to afford to financially pay for an idea I have to generate enough money to become wealthy. And then the third thing, we will start having money. So it's like, it's a method to the madness. You know, when you sit back and you analyze the situation and you overlook it, what we have in common with people that's broke, like myself and other people that's broke. If you watch this video and you know you broke, then what we have in common together is we lack discipline, we lack money, and we lack an idea or a business that's going to generate enough money to make us wealthy. So we have the same things in common. The same way people that's wealthy have three things in common, people that's broke have three things in common. So I think what people that's broke need to do is understand the three things that wealthy people have in common, and we need to start to try to get to where we can have something in common with them, and then we'll have more than just one thing in common with them. But the first thing we know we can have in common with them is being disciplined. That's the first thing. Let me be disciplined. You know, when I go to the grocery store, I know, you know, I got enough money to buy whatever I want because I got paid. You might go in the store and say, hey, I'm going to spend $300. You know, let me buy my normal stuff I buy. Let me buy my fish, my shrimp, you know, buy some salmon. Let me buy some steak. Let me buy, you know, these chicken wings, the party wings, you know, all the sides I like to get, you know, just get your normal shopping done, grocery, juice, you know, all the stuff you normally buy. Let's walk in the store sometimes and say, you know what, I'm going to cut the bill down. Yeah, we're not going to be eating like we normally eat at the house, but that's called discipline. You know, I like to go to the mall when I get paid. You know, I want them $200 Air Max. Man, them jeans right there cost $120. They clean. You know, this is a tech hoodie. These tech hoodies are costing about $150 a hoodie, $125. You know, let me not get that. Let me get the cheaper hoodie. Yeah, you're not getting the stuff you want, but that's called discipline. You know, that's that part right there is the one thing that people that's broke have in common is we lack the discipline, and we need to learn how to discipline ourselves so that we can start to get to a point where we get the financial freedom. Because I really want financial freedom. You know, I hate when it's things that I want and I can't get it. You know, let's say you're trying to move, but you really don't have great credit. Why you don't have great credit? Because you're not paying your bills on time. Your credit cards are maxed out. You've been missing your car note and it's going on your credit report. You know, stuff like that. So that's a lack of discipline. If you don't have the financial means to take care of it, then I'm not going to knock you for that. But if you know your money be coming in, you just spend it in other areas and still letting bills hit your credit report, then that's why you have bad credit. You know, and that's the lack of discipline. You know, and these are things that people that's wealthy don't do because they understand that credit is wealth. You know, people that's rich would rather have an 800 credit score than $8,000 in their pocket because that 800 credit score is more valuable than that 8,000 cash. And that's one thing that people that don't have money don't understand. People that don't have money or ever had a lot of money don't understand. They would rather have $1,000 in their pocket than a 750 credit score because in their mind, that's $1,000 in their pocket give them instant gratification. So you have to understand the concept and what people that's wealthy have in common, man. You know, this the Aaron L show. I thought I'd just put this out there. You know, I'm working on disciplining myself. I'm no better than anybody that watched this video that's having financial trouble. I have financial trouble. I lack the discipline to get myself to financial freedom. But, you know, we need to work on ourselves. That's what the issue is. You know, we need to work on the discipline. Once we work on the discipline, then the money's going to start saving up a little by little. And once you work on the money saving up, then you have to create an idea that's going to generate money, and then you will start having money, and then you will have the three things in common with the most rich people have in common, which is discipline, a business or something that generates money, and then you will start having money, which will give you financial freedom. This is the Aaron L. Show. Like, comment, subscribe. I love you guys. Comment at the bottom. I'm going to hit you back on another one. I'm out of here.